The divine wants you to stop living in regret. You can either accept the lesson and move on, or forgive and forget. This is definitely going to be an unpopular opinion, but that's okay. A lot of people are perpetuating their own unhappiness. A lot of people are perpetuating their own misery and their own karmic cycle, and are, for whatever reason, blaming outside forces. And when I say for whatever reason, really the reason is because people refuse to accept accountability, right? If we even put spirituality to the side and just talk about growth, a lot of people would really benefit from counseling. You know what I mean? Or if you don't want to go to a counselor, even like a life coach, someone who's really passionate about it, right? A lot of people need to talk to someone outside of their close, intimate circle, and need to talk to someone who's not just going to tell them what they want to hear. When you have friends, family members who have been there with you, not the toxic one, but the ones that are all, that are actually in your corner, and they've been there with you and they've seen the things that you go through, people tend to sympathize with you, sympathize with your point of view, and sympathize with whatever circumstance that you're in. And a lot of times these people don't really want to be the ones to point out where you went wrong, or where maybe you could have done something better so that the outcome wouldn't have come out the way that it did. So in that case, a lot of people would really benefit from going to a counselor and speaking to a third party that is unbiased. I had to take a quick break because a call came through. But a lot of people would really benefit from talking to like an unbiased third party, because a lot of people refuse to let go. Like, I get that, like, love is one of the highest forces out here, right? A lot of people will say it is the highest, force out here. Although truthfully, that's authenticity. But, love is definitely a very, very powerful force. And I get that, like, a lot of people are driven by love. You know what I mean? A lot of people are driven by love. That's why love readings are some of the most I will say love readings. Love readings are like the most popular, followed by like revenge and like this person's going to get their karma type readings come in like a close second. But the amount of people that like subscribe to YouTube channels that do nothing but love readings, like literally love reading after love reading after love reading. This person's going to return. This person is in deep regret. This person wants you back. A lot of that energy comes through. I'd say like a good third of my videos, a lot of that energy comes through. And like I said, like, for some people, you're going to have someone who comes back. You're going to have someone who's going to come back. You have someone who's in deep regret. But I think where people get things confused is sometimes we as people, and I put myself in this category because even I am guilty of it. That's why like the biggest part of my healing journey has been me literally being like, I'm not going to date. I'm going to spend some time. I'm abstinent. I've been abstinent for 3 years now, going for year 4. And, when people are like, oh, I couldn't do that, it's actually a lot easier than you think, For people who say it's difficult, your priorities are in the wrong place, because abstinence is definitely a lot easier than you think. But going through like the period of being like, I'm not going to date, I'm just going to focus on myself. Really, I've almost focused so much on self that now it's made it hard to date, because now even when like men approach me and want to take me out, I'm just like, no. My discernment is literally at the point where I'm just like, I can tell, like, what was that, Medea, where she's like, I can tell by the way you walked over here, that's not going to work. Like, literally, that's how high alert I'm on. I can tell by the way you walked over to my table that this is not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to have to say no, right? But a lot of people would benefit from going through that healing time alone and putting like relationships to the side, because sometimes we want someone someone, like not something, like I'm specifically talking about relationships. Sometimes we want someone so bad that when we're having these dreams about this person and when all of these things are happening and this person keeps showing up and we're thinking like, oh, this reader said that this person is thinking about me, that's why they're showing up in my dreams. But sometimes if you're so focused on someone, like you're so consumed, if you are literally the type of person where you are following several different tarot readers and all of them are doing love readings, it's actually you. That person is projecting in your dreams because of you, because you are so hyper focused on them. Now, if you're someone who you and your person have been in separation for, let's say, like a couple of months to like a year, maybe a year or two, then okay, I could see you being like, oh, my person's going to come back. And if you're going to sit there and wait, at least in your waiting period, make sure you're doing things for yourself, going after your goals, taking care of yourself, pampering yourself, any sort of self-care. Make sure you're doing that in the meantime, not just sitting around watching readings about when this person is going to come back. Because like I said, it does not matter what a reader tells you. People have free will. So the reader can flip the cards and see that, oh, this person's going to come back. And it may be in the cards for them to come back, but that person literally could walk outside and could plan on calling you, could stub their big toe. And next thing you know, like the whole transaction for that day has changed, right? It has changed. Like something so simple. This person could mean to call you, and maybe the karmic of a third party they're dealing with just so happens to call them. Maybe that person senses that they want to get back with you. That person does an interference. They call them, they intercept. And now the day that they were supposed to get back to you, they didn't. And now it's not in the cards. They're not going to come back for like months to like years later. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, please make sure you're doing things to work on yourself. At no point should anyone ever be spending so much time consumed and waiting for someone else. Because if that person doesn't come back, then all you're doing is like not necessarily like even wasting time, because time is going to go by anyways, but you're missing opportunities. Like there could be someone else. Like maybe if you weren't sitting at home waiting for this person, you would have gone out with your friends, or you would have gone out here, or you would have tried out this new spot or this new coffee spot over here, or you would have gone to that bookstore over there. You would have done something where you would have had an encounter where you would have met someone else. The person whose spirit is trying to bring into your life, but you're not creating avenues, or you're not taking the avenues for that person to get there because you're so hyper focused on this one person. Like if you're someone and you're watching love reading videos, and let's say you've been following someone for like a year or two, and they're like, oh, the person's going to come back in the summer. Oh, they're going to come back in the fall. Oh, they're going to come back in the winter. Oh, look for them in spring. How many years are people really willing to wait for someone to come back? Like how many years are you really willing to put to the side for somebody to come back? Because I'll tell you, as someone who's in my late 30s, I will tell you from experience, like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It is not worth it sitting around waiting for someone who may or may not return. Because like I said, regardless of what the cards say, we all have free will. We all have free will. You know what I mean? Like, I've even had someone tell me before, like, oh, well, I thought that you like someone who I was like talking to, going through like the talking stages, and it just kind of fizzled out because, over time, like we both just stopped putting in effort. And this person comes back around years later and it's like, oh, well, I thought you had found somebody else. We had just stopped talking. I was waiting for you to reach out. I was waiting for you to communicate. And here's the thing. There were several times where I thought about reaching out. There were several times where I thought about, hey, let me just go ahead and shoot this person a text. We haven't spoken in a couple of days. A couple of days have turned into a couple of weeks. And then literally something might happen where I might get a call from like a friend, or a call from like a cousin or a relative. And next thing I know, I'm doing something different. And that whole me reaching out has like gone out the window. You know what I mean? And that just, there are so many different things that people have going on that can change even like the trajectory, like day to day of what's going to happen. There are so many different like influence that can happen, from day to day. So I just don't advise it. I don't advise it, right? At the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do, but I do not advise it. I would say, like, at least if you're not going to take some time and go through your healing and go through like a healing stage and journey, but I would at least advise for you to even, like, a lot of people like, oh, I don't believe in casually dating. Like, I would even suggest casually dating just to get out there and keep your options open. Now, when you're casually dating, leave the intimacy out of it. Leave the intimacy out of it. I'm not advertising for anyone to go out there and start sleeping around, but definitely start casually dating. Do something that's going to help you keep your mind off of this person that you are like so desperately waiting to return. Because some of the times I think that like we fail to realize that we want someone so bad that we are projecting our feelings onto that person. And a lot of times, like when you're in no contact for extended periods of time, you tend to find a reader. And when they're telling you things that resonate with how you feel, then you're like, oh, okay, well, that's exactly how I feel. So if that's how I feel, that must be how the other person feels. Not necessarily. And I think a lot of times people, they tend to cling to the readings that give them the most amount of comfort, right? Because you're like, oh, I really want this person back and I really want them to want me back. So if you find a reader that says, oh, you want this person really bad, and guess what? They want you just as much as you want them, just like they're showing up in your dreams, you're showing up in theirs. Not necessarily. That person may just be showing up in your dreams because you are clinging to them so hard. That does not necessarily mean that that's your story. You're just trying to force it because it resonates with how you feel and you want the other person to feel the same as you feel. But sometimes they don't, especially if it's in a situation where the other person has moved on and they're married. Because I had a dream, right, where literally this Divine Feminine, she gets a call, right? She gets a call from someone from her past who is returning, who's wanting to have a conversation, who's wanting to sit down and talk and kind of hash things out. And when I tell you, disappointed to say the least, because the person that reached out was not the person that Divine Feminine wanted. The person that Divine Feminine was actually waiting to return in this dream was actually a Divine Masculine who was married to someone else, right? But the person who ended up coming back, the person who ended up being the one who she, was like, oh, someone's coming back, he's coming back, was someone completely different. Like she knew this person from her past, but he's not the one that she wanted, right? So the actual dream that I was supposed to be doing a reading on was like, the person who's returning is not who you think it is. Like if you get this strong feeling that someone from your past is returning, it's actually not who you think it is, right? But if you're in that situation where your Divine Masculine, even if this is your Divine Masculine, even if you know without a shadow of a doubt that this is your twin flame, this is your Divine Masculine, if he chose somebody else and if he is married, what are you still waiting for? Like how many years, especially if he has children, because like I said, I've done like many recordings on this before because I just do not advocate people waiting around. If that man or that woman, because like I said, Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine are energies, not genders, is married and has children, a lot of people, even if they are unhappy, even if you know for a fact that that man or that woman is unhappy, a lot of people will stick around and stick things out for the sake of their children. A lot of people. So what are you going to do? Wait for all of their children to turn 18? Like, that's foolish. That's foolish. Like, I hate to say you would be a fool. Fool card in the reverse. That's foolish. But It just seems like that's the route that a lot of people are choosing to take, because if your divine counterpart is actually married in the 3D to someone else, what are you waiting for? I just don't get it, and I don't understand. And meanwhile, in the dream, another divine masculine comes, the one that spirit, when spirit keeps telling like this divine feminine that someone from your past is coming back, the person that spirit was actually sending back to make a return was someone who wasn't married, someone who didn't have kids, someone who, although they had some, I'm just going to say like baggage, like a little bit of baggage from the past, it definitely wasn't anything that it was a lot less baggage to unpack with this person that actually came back than it would be baggage to unpack if you were to sit around and wait for this divine masculine who's married to get divorced and come back with all these children, right? So this person that came back definitely has a lot less baggage. But like when I tell you, the divine, the I'm not even going to say empress, because like that was some real low vibrational energy, but the divine feminine in my dream, like the sheer disappointment, because she's like, no, that's not the one that I want. That might not be the one that you want, but that's the one that spirit and your ancestors and your guides are telling you is best for you. Because you are just wasting time. And by sitting around waiting for this other person to return who has shown no signs. Now, if you're someone and you and your divine masculine are like, you are not true, no contact, like you guys are not in a relationship, but you still talk. They hit you up every now and then. They call, they text. They may be with somebody else, but they're still reaching out. I don't know what that is. That sounds messy. I wouldn't advise you get mixed up with that in either, because if you don't want to be where you're at, you need to fix that first before you come back to someone, before you come to someone new. But if you are someone who is in true no contact, and I mean like you haven't spoken to your person in years. I'm not talking about a year or a couple of months. I'm talking like years. You haven't spoken to your person in years. I don't know what you're holding on to, but the message that I got from that dream is that if you're listening to love reading after love reading after love reading about someone from your past coming back, it's actually not the person that you're thinking of. Because the person that your spirit team is bringing to you is someone who is actually a better fit for you, for who you are and what you're doing and where you're at on your path now. But you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to evolve, and you're going to have to let go, right? You can either, like I said, accept the lesson and move on, or you can forgive and forget, right? You can forgive and forget, but either way, you're going to have to do something to get over this karmic lesson, because it's not the karmic that's doing it to you. It is not, the divine masculine that's doing it to you. If you are someone who you refuse to let go of this person who's already moved on, then you yourself are the reason why you're stuck in this karmic loop. You yourself are the reason why you have so much trouble in the love department. You yourself are the reason why your love life is in with whatever shambles you consider it's in, because you are keeping yourself in that karmic loop by refusing to let go, right? So that's the message for today. Probably going to be a very unpopular opinion, but the dream that I had was kind of disappointing, to say the least. It's kind of disappointing, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, like, we want who we want, or I should say the heart wants who the heart wants, but there's just something that's so much better out there for you. I'm telling you, there's something so much better out there for you. If the person that you're waiting for refuses to let go of the person that they're with, then you have to let go. You have to be the one to let go. But everyone in this situation is holding on. So everyone in this situation is stuck. Just like you're watching that person stuck in a karmic loop because they're with someone who they refuse to let go. You're stuck in your karmic loop because you refuse to let go of the person who refuses to let go. But anyways, I'm ending it here because otherwise I'll keep going and I'll start getting redundant. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Please don't hate me for this message, okay? Bye.